Three countries, different continents, same path. The United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia are collapsing under the weight of their own bad decisions. And if you think Australia is immune, think again. What do Britain's failing NHS, Canada's housing nightmare, and Australia's broken economy all have in common? A formula: inflate the housing market, gut manufacturing, flood in people without infrastructure, and expect it to work forever. Well, it is not working, and the cracks are now impossible to ignore. In this deep dive, we are comparing the collapse of three nations that once led the world in prosperity, and why Australia is on the same cliff edge. Chapter 1. The British Decline. A warning from the past. Let us start with the United Kingdom. Once the most powerful empire on earth, now a nation where public services are crumbling, real wages have flatlined, and entire generations have been priced out of housing. Britain embraced deindustrialization early. In the 1980s, Margaret Thatcher's government dismantled the coal, steel, and car manufacturing industries. The promise was a shift toward a modern, service-based economy. The result? Northern England became a wasteland of joblessness and poverty. Wealth concentrated in London. The middle class shrank, and with it, social mobility died. Fast forward to today, the National Health Service is overwhelmed. Ambulances wait hours to admit patients. Over 7 million people are stuck on surgical wait lists. Trains barely run on time. Young people are being pushed into debt for degrees that lead nowhere. And while a small elite in London thrives off real estate and finance, the rest of the country is being left behind. Britain's decline was not caused by bad luck. It was engineered by decades of policy failures from both sides of politics. Chapter 2. Canada, the canary in the housing mine. Canada followed a similar trajectory. Once seen as a model of middle-class success, Canada is now a warning sign for nations chasing artificial economic growth. The country's economy is built on two things: real estate and immigration. The average Canadian house price now exceeds $1 million Canadian dollars in major cities, while wages have remained stagnant for over a decade. In Toronto and Vancouver, locals are being driven out of their neighborhoods. Investors, many of them overseas, scoop up entire blocks of homes. Foreign ownership is so rampant in some districts, 1 in 5 properties sits empty while locals live in tents. The government continues to flood the market with people, nearly 1 million newcomers in 1 year alone, without matching investments in housing, hospitals, or transport. Now Canadians are waking up to a crisis. Food banks are overwhelmed. Mortgage defaults are rising. Confidence in the government is plummeting. Sound familiar yet? Chapter 3. Australia. The same playbook, different accent. Now look at Australia. We too used to build. We had car factories in Melbourne, steel in Newcastle, shipbuilding in South Australia. We owned our banks, ran our airlines, and lived in homes we could afford. But that has changed. Over the last 30 years, we copied the British and Canadian model. And now we are feeling the same pain. We shut down car manufacturing, offshored supply chains, and now rely on imports for almost everything. Our biggest export is raw materials: iron ore, coal, gas, sent offshore and often sold back to us at inflated prices. The property market has been turned into a financial instrument. Investors hold over 30% of all housing. Negative gearing policies reward speculation over shelter. Foreign ownership is barely regulated. The average house in Sydney is now over $1.2 million. Renters are spending over 50% of their income just to keep a roof over their head. Young people are living at home longer, delaying families, and giving up on the dream of owning property. Meanwhile, immigration has surged past 500,000 arrivals per year, while housing construction lags, roads gridlock, and hospitals buckle under pressure. Chapter 4. The Collapse Formula, Step by Step. It is not a coincidence these three countries followed the same economic formula and now face the same results. Step 1. Deindustrialize. Outsource everything. Focus on services. Step 2. Deregulate finance. Let banks and investors run wild. Step 3. Inflate housing. Reward speculation. Create artificial scarcity. Step 4. Bring in record migration to keep demand high. Ignore the strain on infrastructure. Step 5. Privatize public assets. Sell utilities, rail, healthcare. Let the market decide. Step 6. Shift. Blame. Say young people are lazy, blame global markets. Pretend there is no alternative. The outcome is predictable: a hollowed-out middle class, unaffordable cities, and governments more loyal to lobbyists than voters. Chapter 5. Healthcare in Crisis. Across all three nations. Britain's NHS is collapsing, but so is Canada's system, and Australia is not far behind. In Canada, patients wait up to 20 hours in emergency rooms. Family doctors are impossible to find. Mental health services are overstretched. In Australia, the story is eerily similar. Bulk billing is disappearing. Waitlists for surgeries stretch into months. Regional hospitals are closing or relying on underpaid locums. This is what happens when public health care is treated as a cost to cut, not a system to protect. Just like housing and energy, healthcare has been slowly commodified. Chapter 6. A generation paying the price. The young are paying for mistakes they did not make. In Britain, the average student graduates with over £40,000 of debt, only to enter a job market with unstable wages and no housing. In Canada, Gen Z and millennials are burdened with high student loans, mortgage rates over 6%, and zero hope of affording a home. In Australia, HECS debts rise with inflation. Renters are locked out of savings. The full-time job is becoming rarer. Side hustles and second jobs are the new normal. And across all three countries, fertility rates are dropping. Not because people don't want kids, but because they cannot afford to raise them. This is what generational theft looks like. Chapter 7. Real Australians. Real Consequences. James, age 29, has 2 degrees and works full-time in Melbourne, and still lives with his parents because rent would eat 70% of his take-home pay. Priya, a single mother in Western Sydney, spends 3 hours commuting because she cannot afford to live near her workplace. Tony, a retired factory worker in Adelaide, watches his suburb fill with empty investment properties while his grandkids are stuck in a 2-bedroom flat. Georgia, a nurse in Brisbane, is leaving for New Zealand because her salary does not cover rising rent and groceries. Kai, an electrician in Perth, is seeing fewer apprentices than ever, because no one wants to train for jobs that are being outsourced or underpaid. These are not exceptions. These are symptoms of a collapsing model. Chapter 8. Can this be reversed? It is not too late, but it requires courage. We need to rebuild local industry. That means investing in Australian manufacturing, making things here, and protecting national supply chains. We must definancialize housing, remove negative gearing, stop treating homes as tax shelters, cap foreign ownership, build public housing at scale. We must halt immigration until infrastructure catches up. Growth without planning is not sustainable. We must bring back public ownership of energy, water, transport, and healthcare. These are not markets. They are rights. And we must break the stranglehold of big donors on our political system, real anti-corruption bodies, donation caps, transparency at all levels. Chapter 9. Final thoughts. Time is running out. The United Kingdom is past the point of reform. Canada is already unraveling, but Australia still has a window, a small one. We can change course, but not with the same leaders, the same policies, and the same lies. We are not imagining the collapse. We are living it. But if we act, we can still stop it. 3 nations, same collapse. only one can still change the ending. Subscribe to Outback Crisis for more truth on how Australia got here and where we go next. To understand how we gambled our wealth and lost our future, watch this next video here.